do it on my computer. Okay, so remember, if they give you an age group or a grade level, it's may be incredibly useful information to the correct answer. And it certainly is going to be a keyword or phrase that I want to make sure that my answer choice in some way responds or takes into consideration. Okay, so again, Madison is a second grade student who has recently diagnosed with a mild intellectual disability. Again, another keyword or phrase. So she was recently diagnosed with mild intellectual disability. Intellectual disability is specific, right? And it's mild. Even though she has been educated in the general education classroom for the last 2 years with no issues, aside from occasionally needing more academic support, during her initial IEP meeting, her parents expressed concern that she won't receive the instruction she needs unless she is moved to a self-contained classroom. How should the admission, review, and dismissal, the ARD committee, respond to Madison's parents' concerns? So, okay, so this is about, and you need to go back and take a look at the keywords and phrases. And if you could, on your end, if you'll look, it'll say like annotate. Can you choose to annotate and choose like the highlight button and just highlight those keywords for us?
So second grade.
Yeah. But if you do it with if you look
Yeah.
on your thing,
Yeah.
it won't let you do it.
How do you highlight?
Let me see. I think you go, and it says annotate. Oh wait, I can annotate. Never mind. I can annotate you. So I'll do it for us.
Okay.
So we have second grade is something I'm going to pay attention to. We have recently, if they give you a time marker, like 10 years, recently, before, during, after, any sort of temporal marker, okay, I pay attention to a time. They're telling us this for a particular reason. So she was recently diagnosed with mild intellectual disability. So, and she's in second grade. Even though she has been educated in general education classroom for the last 2 years, so first and second grade, I mean, kinder and second, I guess, or first and second, and has no issues aside from occasionally needing, and again, another keyword I would, because it's a sort of temporal, she occasionally needs academic support. During her initial IEP meeting, her parents expressed concern. Parents have concern that she won't receive the instruction she needs unless she is moved to a self-contained classroom. How should the ARD committee respond to her parents' concerns? Okay, so let's talk about the keywords and phrases that we have here, the things that we know about special education, and what might be a logical response without even reading I haven't read the responses at all. She's only in the second grade. She was just recently diagnosed, and it's a mild intellectual disability. And she is able to have success in a general ed classroom with minimal academic support, you know? And the goal of special education is to provide the least restrictive learning environment. That is the key goal. We don't want to throw you in a self-contained classroom if you can fare and grow socially amongst your peers. We certainly want to opt for the situation where you are thriving in the general ed population, right? It's possible that you might need more. Maybe the ARD committee needs to consider more support academically, in the IEP, or consider other avenues. But I don't know if I were on the ARD that I would feel comfortable moving her to self-contained in the second grade. She's learning all these social skills, she only occasionally needs academic support. She doesn't even need it all the time, and we want to put her in self-contained, which I think is limiting to her socially, all of the different areas of development that we want for our special ed students to achieve. Sometimes it's harder for us to sort of replicate those learning environments in a self-contained unit, but in the general ed classroom, they are able to work in group activities and engage in like sharing opportunities and other things that possibly self-contained doesn't provide as many opportunities. And so certainly we want to give all of our special ed students, maximum opportunities in the least restrictive environment. So based on that, let's think about, because the goal of the question, and that's what you should do with every question, you should ask yourself, what is the goal for the special education teacher in this scenario? Okay, so the goal for the ARD committee is, how do you respond to Madison's concerns that she's not receiving the instruction she needs? And to be honest with you, like I said, for the reasons that I mentioned before, I don't think that that's necessarily the case. Although usually these Texas questions are not overtly negative. You understand what I mean? Instead, it's like not like telling the parents that they're wrong and blah, blah, blah. It's never going to be an overtly negative one. So let's take a look at the answer choices and see what we have. The goal is that we want to express a response to the concerns that they have. And I would say that we could provide more in-class instructional support so that we're providing opportunities for the least restrictive environment. So provide a co-teacher, someone that can be with them. That's always someone with intellectual disability could be assigned a co-teacher, and co-teachers could be assigned a handful of as much as 6 students in a classroom. And so that can be, and that teacher is just for them within the classroom. So they actually have 2 teacher of records for instruction, which is very nice. Some students in the special ed program receive co-teachers that are just individual co-teachers. So many times, based on budgeting, staffing, etc., students will have to share a co-teacher, but if the degree of the disability warrants an individual co-teacher, then schools must and will provide that for them. So there's other things we can do to help keep the students supported in a general education classroom. So let's take a look at the answer choices. Emphasize the benefits of the general education classroom for students with disabilities and highlight the flexibility offered by the co-taught model of instruction. Okay, do you see why that one seems like a pretty good answer right away?
Yeah, after everything you explained, it sounds like a correct answer.
Yes. Oh, where did it go? I lost, where did you turn it off, or did I lose my screen?
No, I didn't turn it off.
I'm sorry. I don't know why my computer does this sometimes. It's like being weird.
I put the one where I compromised with Madison's parents.
Okay, I can't even read it right now because the whole screen went away, but let me see if I can get it back. Like, where is it? Oh, here it is. Give it back to me. Oh, here it is. Okay, so assign a paraprofessional to provide one-to-one support for Madison during the entire school day. That's not necessary, and it really just isn't. Compromise by moving Madison to a resource class for math and reading with general education minutes scheduled in other core classes and electives for socialization with non-disabled peers. Change Madison's placement to a self-contained classroom for 1 grading period to see if she continues to make academic progress at her current rate or regresses. So, like I said, the overarching goal of special education is always to try to maximize in classroom instruction. And especially in classes like I see where we used to do that. That's the old model of special ed, that we used to send the students out during to resources, right? And there would be a resource teacher there, and she would help them with the math and the reading. The problem was that those special ed kids were missing those activities that allow students to work in group activities, to discuss content specific vocabulary, to practice their oral language proficiency, to practice negotiating knowledge that's more challenging than the electives. And so it was still limiting as far as instruction was concerned. So the best response would be for you to emphasize how important it is, just like I just did to you and told you about how important it is for them to be in math instruction, and then do the math activity that they're doing with their peers, have that same discussion that the peers are having. That's really important. And if we can make that happen with the help of a co-teacher in that classroom that just goes in to support that, why wouldn't we do that? That's the best case scenario. We want them to be utilizing content specific vocabulary. We want them to be practicing their oral language proficiency, just in even basic interpersonal communication, but also in that, again, that cognitive academic specific. So that's why emphasize the benefits of general education would be the best answer. Changing her is not the best. I mean, that would be a terrible thing to put her away in self-contained at second grade. She's been faring perfectly well. The only difference, it didn't say anything about behavior, didn't say anything about her needing any sort of social support, or she just needs some academic support occasionally. And so to sort of send her to a self-contained classroom, I think would be incredibly cruel. So I would never suggest that. And you wouldn't want to assign her a paraprofessional all day long. Like I said, we have to think about the rest of the students that need service and whatnot. And so if she just needs occasionally help, and we take a look and it's like, you know what, she normally needs help in math. And so, okay, so the co-teacher's going to go in for her every math class, and she's good to go, because that little safety net is underneath her during that math instruction, and she gets that added support. So does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
Excellent. Okay, next one.
Next, this one I got right.
Oh, I was just talking about that. See, metacognition, self-monitoring. You knew what I was talking about. You're probably like preaching to the choir. So yeah, it's thinking about your thinking. Metacognition. Meta means me, and cognition means thinking. So I always think of it, it's like me thinking. It's like metacognition is a very fancy word, but if you say it in like just layman's terms, me thinking, it sounds so like caveman.
Yeah. Okay, so this is the one that I was just like, I really didn't understand.
Okay, so you have let me get my handy dandy notebook. No, I'm just kidding. Let me look for my fourth grade teacher. She wants to provide realistic experiences in the understanding and development of graphic representation. Okay. She wants to provide realistic experiences. That's like a goal of hers, right? That, to me, that's like a goal. In the understanding and development of graphic representations. This fourth grade teacher, she wants to connect it to realistic experiences and graphic representations, not just the understanding of it, but also she wants them to be able to develop, I guess, and develop. After she models the development of a class, birthday, month bar chart, the teacher assigns her students to choose a question to investigate. So their students are going to choose a question to investigate in order to develop their own bar chart. So we want to know which one of these would make a great bar chart. Which of the following questions would be least appropriate for students to investigate for the purpose of developing a graph? Which would be the least appropriate? So we don't want the one that would make the best bar graph. We want the one that would make the worst. So what number of students play basketball versus soccer? So basketball versus soccer, that's only 2 bars. That would make a perfect bar graph, right? Super easy for them. That one is not the right answer. I could bet myself $5. That's something that you want to be able to say to yourself when you eliminate an answer choice. And actually, I should say rather, before you eliminate an answer choice, you should be able to say to yourself, you know, this is wrong because of this. So that's why that's wrong, because that makes it easy. In which zip code do you live? So that might seem like it would be the least appropriate, but in some towns, there's only 2 zip codes. And so, or 3, you know, like I think Edinburgh has 3, San Antonio has like 5 or something like zip codes. So this one would actually be a pretty good one. It would be like 3 or 4 bars that anybody might have to do. What do you like best about school? They might say friends, they might say lunch, they might say my teacher, they might say math, they might say Jonathan, they might say Susie Q is the best. Basketball, football team. I'm sorry?
There's a lot of options.
Right.
About that.
So I would say that C has a whole bunch of options. So like we're saying, it's like you could do all of these. And this one might be what color, you know, red, blue, green, black, silver, gray, or whatever. White. Even that is like has an end to it, but I would say this one has no end because kids could be silly about it and get really specific, like really specific. And they're in 4th grade, so they're capable of being silly, specific, like I will think of the most, you know, I'm the only one in my bar. And then the kids are going to have 27, you know, representative bar graphs. So you want something that's going to keep it a little bit simple. I would say the least defined of the options is option C.
Yeah. Okay, yeah.
So just be very particular with your reading. Be very mindful. What is the question asking of me? What are the keywords and phrases that I need to make sure that my final answer choice? I'm sorry, one moment, please.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Oh, I don't know if my AirPods are working. Let me see if they're on. I don't think they are. Hello?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. Well, they're not, I mean, they're in, but they're just not on. Okay, I turned them on now. All right. Okay, so next.
Okay, so this one, I got it right. How to prepare for a job placement as a stalker is helping
Mhm.
her practice and stuff.
Right.
This is, I get confused with the formative, informal, or summative, and all that stuff.
Yeah. If you take a look at that paper that I told you to print out with the tiny little things, there's a little one on the back where assessments are, and they're listed there. So a formative assessment is something that we do all the time in our classroom. We use it to form or to drive, to sort of dictate our design for instruction. Let me highlight this for you. So you have formative right here, and formative is the type of assessment that forms or drives our instructional plan. And it can be informal or formal. We do it all the time. I mean, we should be constantly gathering data to see if our students are achieving or mastering those learning objectives. And the way we do that is by gathering data. And so there's informative is sort of the bulk of what we do is formative assessments. And a multiple choice exam is a formative assessment. It's more of a formal, an essay is more of a formal assessment. It can be formative. Having them do an exit ticket could be a formative assessment. Walking around and listening to their cooperative learning groups, or listening to their discussion in think, pair, shares, or partner dialogues, that is a formative informal assessment. So we use them all the time. One moment, please. I'm so sorry. I'm gonna have to pause 1 moment.
Mhm.
Read through those and see if you can see which one is the correct answer. Because I'm going through, and you have the definitions right there in front of you of the norm reference assessment. And I just told you what an informal assessment is right now. Informal is not structured.
That's structure.
So like observations, discussions that you have. You have a discussion.
Shares the results of most recent unit tests in 4 core subjects. So summative is after learning the process. Less structure, observation, observations. Is it summative? Or did you tell me it was informal? Because I mean, summative here, the definition is right here in the question. It says the special education teacher should test.
So
And
they're
his
unit
subject is
tests, right? Exactly. And a unit test is at the end. So formative instruction happens, and this is very important, before or during the unit of learning. So that could be, I mean, and that's, you can think of it as like 6 weeks, or like, a semester exam, something like that. Or it could just be your unit on, if I'm a ELAR teacher and I'm doing the Scarlet Letter, I can have my whole unit on the Scarlet Letter, and anything, before and during is considered a formative assessment. So summative assessments, however, are, when do they take place? They are in summary after all learning has taken place, right?
Mm-hmm.
So in summation, in summary, the summative assessment. So formatives form and they happen before and during. So we could, if I'm meeting a class, I could give them, or have a discussion or do an activity in which I am assessing their literary analysis abilities. And that would be before I begin creating what they need for instruction, creating the lessons and the activities that would supplement their areas of need. So formative assessments, they happen before, during. Summative, they happen after. And so we have this Maxwell, who's a 5th grade student. He has ADHD. Those are important, those are important keywords and phrases for us to pay attention to. And like I said, it might not be important that he's in 5th grade, but it might. During his annual IEP, his individual education plan meeting, where the ARD meets, the special education teacher shares the results of Maxwell's most recent unit tests in 4 core subjects. Okay, so this type of data falls under what type of assessment? Is this data being used to create and plan instruction, or is it being used to see if supportive strategies are working overall in instruction?
The last one.
Right, exactly. So I would say that it is a summative exam. It's not a norm reference exam for sure. And that's important. That data that we bring back, it's important for that reason. We're trying to see are the accommodations and the supports that we identified, that the ARD identified for this 5th grade student, are they appropriate? And we look at their summative assessments in their different core areas, math, reading, social studies, to see, is it working? Are they doing well? And we should be able to tell. If they are struggling academically, then we need to dig deeper and see what supports are either not working or are missing altogether from their individual plan, to help them achieve mastery at a more successful rate. So I would say summative assessment is the correct response.
Yes. Okay. On to the next one.
Oh, I think I have to delete it.
Oh,
Let me delete this stuff.
sorry.
No worries. I got it.
Okay, so this one got it right. Right. Okay, here we go.
All right. Okay, so we have Jacob is a nonverbal 4th grade student. So he doesn't speak. Student with severe intellectual disability. Which of the following assistive technologies would be most beneficial for Jacob and his teachers? So when you have these questions, again, you want to remember the keywords and phrases that are here. You have this nonverbal 4th grade students, and he has severe intellectual disability. So not only can he not speak, he has severe intellectual disability. When we're thinking about assistive technologies, what would be most beneficial to someone who can't speak and is severely intellectually disabled? Someone who can't speak, So we're looking for a technology. That's the goal. So you have to think about it in terms of goal. Like, what is the goal for this special ed teacher? And the goal is, what is the best assistive technology for Jacob, who doesn't speak and is severely, intellectually disabled? So text to speech software, where he would text it and it would speak it. An electronic dictionary, speech to text software, or a picture exchange communication system. And we have a lot of students that actually have to use that. My sister is like one of the directors for an K through 12, and they have students all over the country, but some of her, and she's a special ed teacher specifically, but some of her students are nonverbal. And so the answer choices to their, reading pieces, the text, are the choice between pictures, like what is the most correct answer based on this picture and this picture. And we're trying to understand whether they comprehend this reading passage that was read to them, because they're nonverbal. And so based on what I've just said right now, and we know they're nonverbal, and they have severe intellectual disability, which do you think would be the most beneficial assistive technology for Jacob and his teachers?
The picture exchange.
Yes, that picture exchange communication system is going to be incredibly useful for him, because he is severely intellectually disabled and also nonverbal. That picture exchange communication system is going to be very important for us to be able to help him and for him to be able to communicate his understanding.
So when someone is severely intellectual and they have that disability, they have trouble writing, speaking, reading,
Right, understanding things.
yeah.
Yeah, so they might not even be able to say like, I feel really angry, or maybe I feel sick, or I feel bad, or my head hurts,
So
they might
this is
show
when you have
you.
to pay attention to their expressions.
Right, and some of
And-
them might have, even a thing on them that shows them the different faces, so they'll be able to say how they're feeling. Like, I'm feeling this picture right here. I can't say it to you, and I don't understand how to show you, but or even know why, but this picture right here, mad, and a lot of kids that are nonverbal have that support with them. I've seen some of them have it, as like a pocket keyring type thing, that they can just bust out and sort of.
I'm asking this just because I haven't gone into a classroom, into a special ed classroom. So
that would be more like in the self-contained, like severely intellectually disabled nonverbal students are going to be in the self-contained unit.
Okay.
Yeah. And a lot of the assistive technology that we do use is mostly utilized in self-contained units, but we do utilize some assistive technology in the classroom.
Okay. Okay, thank you for that one. Let me go to the next one. Okay, here we go. Oh no, you need to delete it, right? Oh no, wait.
Yeah, I'm clearing it. Let me see. Why didn't I do it? Okay, there we go.
Okay, yeah, but this is the next one. Okay.
Okay, which of the following questions, so they're asking us a question, should take precedence? Whenever you're reading these answer choices, I want for you to put it in layman's terms. They always use pedagogical and our like professional, jargon, vernacular, and it's easiest, and sometimes the answer is more obvious for you if you can put it in layman's terms. So we're looking for a question that should be most important, take precedence. So proceed when you determine the least restrictive environment, the LRE, that least restrictive environment for any student during the initial referral process for special education services. Woo, let's go back with my little handy dandy pen and highlight keywords and phrases before I look at and eliminate any answer choices. And I never eliminate right off the bat. I always read through all of them first. So we're looking for a question. And again, that precedent should precede, should think about this before you determine the LRE, before you decide the environment, the least restrictive environment. For the initial referral process, the first time they're going to be in special ed to receive services. What is the question that should be foremost in our minds when we're determining the least restrictive environment? That's what this question is asking. So what's the goal? The goal is, what should I ask myself before when I'm placing a student initially in that process? You know, where should they be in the environment wise? So let's read through those. We have which instructional arrangement offers the greatest amount of support for the student with disabilities? That might be something we would want to consider. Don't eliminate that yet. And remember, many times they give you more than one like appropriate response. One is more appropriate than another based on the words or phrases that they may use in the scenario or the question, right? So they're tricky in that way because they give you more than one appropriate thing that you could do, but one is better than the other based on what they say. Which instructional arrangement has the, I'm sorry, one moment, lowest student to teacher ratio and can therefore provide the greatest possible support? Which instructional arrangement will provide the best opportunity for the student to demonstrate her strengths while receiving support for her weaknesses? Which instructional arrangement will give the student the easiest route to annual promotion and eventual graduation? So I would say when we are thinking about the initial referral process, I would say C and D are ones that I might consider important, because you can say you could give the most support to a student. For instance, I would say A is not the right answer because it's still, you can put a whole bunch of people in least restrictive, in very restrictive environments saying, okay, well, it's one-on-one in there, but yeah, the teacher's not even doing anything and they're not doing anything with other people and it's restrictive. And so that might not be beneficial, and they might get a great amount of support in that way, but it might not be beneficial. So I would say the following question should take precedent. I would say C is the best because you want to think of the student like and growing them as a person, right? Each of our students, they're not just like numbers, that easiest route so that they can get promoted each year and they can graduate on time, and they're not just numbers. They're people, and we want to give them the best opportunity to increase their strengths, and also support their weaknesses and get those weaknesses maybe to even turn into be strength. And that's true for all students that come through our education system, or it should be the case, but especially true for our special ed kids. So I feel like that should be the question that takes precedent, that precedes the determination of least restrictive, is to think of, what would be the best opportunity, what environment will provide the best opportunity for students to demonstrate strengths while receiving support for their weaknesses.
Okay. And you had said also the last one that you were thinking about it, but then you crossed it out.
Yeah, the lowest student to ratio and can therefore provide greatest possible support. See, like, this is not really, we would say, okay, it is, the reason I feel like this is a better answer than this lowest student to teacher ratio, we don't know that they need that much support, you know? So it might be okay for them to be in a general ed classroom where there's a general ed teacher and a co-teacher that's in charge of 6 special ed students, you know? I don't know what the breakdown of teacher ratio support for that is, but they have 2 on record teachers. They're getting that like 100% in class, you know, peer contact and, you know, student-centered instruction and support from a co-teacher, which is why I think that C allows themselves, we want to be least restrictive. So we want to do it for the student. For me, it's this for the student that makes this the best answer. It's the best opportunity for the student. The other ones are like gives the student the easiest route to like,
Yeah,
to
that's
like,
the one.
you know what I mean? This is like, why would we, what is this? We're gonna hear, I mean, that's sometimes they use, sometimes words in an answer choice make it apparent that that's not the right answer. And for me, this doesn't support the student in the way that the special education program should be doing. It's not like just trying to get you to graduate. It's trying to get you to also graduate while growing as a human being and growing those strengths that exist for you already, you know, and trying to support you in any of the weaknesses that we identify or that you identify and whatever comes up. So the easiest route to the annual promotion seems like a cheap way of, you know, like the Hill Country Fair brand of teaching, instead of providing the best opportunity for the students to demonstrate their own strengths and support their weaknesses. So I would say C is the best answer for that reason.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you for breaking that down for me.
Absolutely.
Okay. Okay, here we go. And this is another one.
All right. Okay, so what is the value of, that means what's the point? What's the meaning behind allowing students in a 4th grade, and then we have language arts inclusion class to select books from their favorite genres during SSR, silent sustained reading. So if you'll take a look at that sheet, note sheet with the tiny words, you'll see on the first page the intrinsic motivation and the extrinsic motivation on that page. And intrinsic,
it's love of learning, natural curiosity. Those are the examples.
yeah, love of learning or natural curiosity. That natural curiosity is your choice or interest in something. That's your natural curiosity. So by allowing students the option or the choice or to be an agent in their own learning, that not just little robots and saying you will read this during silent sustained reading, which means that they read for like 15 minutes silently and for a sustained amount of period of time. So instead of saying you're going to read this book or we're all going to read this book, allowing them the option to choose something that their brain has a genuine curiosity for because they chose it, they get that natural buy-in. Science says that when you allow students to have choice, to utilize their own interests, that real learning and real engagement take place in ways that you forcing them to do a particular activity, utilizing something from your own particular choice, you might have a less successful outcome because students, you can still learn the idea of characterization and talk about how characters are developed in a lesson, going over each individual student's silent sustained reading. Somebody chooses Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, somebody chose Matilda in the 4th grade, somebody chose, whatever else they're choosing for their silent sustained reading. You can still talk about that concept of characterization, the development of a character in English language arts in a way that's fruitful, and they're still learning and they still got to read something that they enjoyed. They will learn it better if you allow them the ability to choose and have agency in their learning. So let's take a look at what the answer choices say. Freedom of choice makes it more likely the students will select a book that they find challenging. Silent sustained reading with a self-selected book is likely to increase fluency by giving the students a text they are excited to read. Students are more likely to engage meaningfully with a text if it matches their personal interests. Silent sustained reading with a self-selected book allows the student to connect their text to personal experiences. Now, we want to find what the value is for allowing them. So what is the value of allowing them to choose from their favorite genre? What's the value?
To make them read more, right?
Right. Which one of these can you, well, we know that silent sustained reading with a self-selected book is not likely to increase fluency because the students are excited to read. So fluency is your ability to read things out loud and fluently. And the way that we test for fluency is we give students a text of, and this is important, so I'm going to actually put it down here for you. So to test for fluency, why isn't it doing it? Oh, chihuahuas. Okay. Fluency. And we test for fluency by giving a text of 100 words, not 200, 100 words. This is how we assess for it in our classes. And in those 100 words, we give it to the student and we have them read. And so I'm going to read for you from my text. So trauma is an exceptional experience in which powerful and dangerous events overwhelm a person's capacity to cope. Keep in mind that the experiences don't have to be life-threatening to trigger a trauma response. Adverse child experiences, or ACEs, can have a significant impact on child development. Examples of some ACEs include parental divorce, witnessing domestic violence, death of a loved one, physical abuse, sexual abuse, parental incarceration, homelessness, and bullying. Note that it is not the child's response and interpretation of the event that creates the harmful impact and matters most, not the event itself. Okay, so I just read a text and it had, 100 words in it. I stumbled 1 or 2 times. That's called a miscue. So I read the text aloud, and any stumbling mistakes are called miscues. And we count the miscues as a student reads the text of 100 words. So I did one mistake. So like 0 to 1 mistake is at the independent level.
0 to 1.
Right, so live 0 to 1 miscues. I'm gonna write, I forgot to write this. And then you're gonna have 2 to 3 miscues. And that's gonna be your instructional level. And then you're going to have 3 plus miscues. I mean, some people have this go up to like 4, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
But I really, I mean, it's kind of frustrating if in 100 you miss 4 for a student. So miscues equals frustration level.
Frustration.
So it's very difficult to get excited about reading if you're at the frustration level. If I am reading something aloud and I have difficulty and I'm stumbling, every single reader is going to shut down. Like every human being on the planet, nobody's brain likes to feel like it's stupid. And so not knowing something, if there's too many of those instances, the brain's like, forget this, I'm not going to participate anymore. That's that frustration level. It allows teachers to assign where they're at, like based on their fluency. So we give them, and then we know, okay, their reading level is at this level based on their fluency, and we can adjust for it. We want students to be at that instructional level where they do sometimes struggle with 1 or 2 words. See, I'm going to make this because I feel like I'm misleading you here. Some people argue, but I don't care. So we want them to just have, 2 or 3 words that they have to learn, yet to learn that they can use context clues. We don't want them to have more than 1 mistake. If they have more than 1 mistake, then they're at the right level. Only 1 mistake or no mistakes. If they have no mistakes, then we need to adjust it as well. Again, we don't want them to be at that 0 to only 1 mistake where they stumble just a little bit on 1. We want them to be struggling with a couple of words. We want them to learn more words. We're adding more words to their cognitive academic bank, their reading bank. And so this might be in their science class, this might be in their math class, and they have to be good at reading in all of their content areas. It's really important. They're going to have to pass these STAR exams, which by and large are reading exams, they're given to them in this reading format. So getting them to be, especially in the early child, especially in their elementary, to be proficient readers is really important. Keeping an eye and assessing their fluency, very important. Elementary teachers typically sit with students during small instruction when they're doing different what do they do, areas. They go to different areas in the classroom centers. I don't know, I couldn't think of the word. And the teacher will assess their fluency every week to see, are we increasing? Like, are you I've seen it, then my own child's teacher do it, assess the students. And so you don't want them at the frustration level. You want them at that instructional level. You want them to be utilizing those decoding skills, and to be picking up new language and to be practicing at that level. So we know that B is not correct because it doesn't do that. And this is not going to increase and we wouldn't allow them to choose stuff to check for their fluency, So do you think that it's likely that their choice is going to increase how difficult it is? Like how challenging they find it?
Freedom of choice makes it more likely that students will select a book that they find challenging. Well, if they like the genre, I mean, yeah, maybe.
I've never heard that. I mean, I've heard it argued the other way that, oh, if you let kids choose, they'll choose something easy, blah, blah, blah. But
Mhm.
I don't think that necessary, that freedom of choice makes it necessarily more likely. It might be because they might choose something, you know, above their reading level for silent sustained reading, or that they find interesting and it might be more challenging. But I don't think that automatically makes it likely that there are other answers that are more likely automatically by allowing them the choice of a genre.
Is it D? Silent sustained reading with a self-selected book allows the students to connect their text to personal experiences.
Let me see. I'm sorry, I just got something on my computer screen. I'm trying to move this.
Oh, there we go. I hadn't seen that. Okay.
Oh, you hadn't been able to see that yet?
No, until right now. I was writing everything down though.
Okay, I'm just gonna take a screenshot and I can send it to you.
Okay.
Oh, I spelled level wrong. Okay, so it says students are more likely to engage meaningfully. And we know that they might engage better meaningfully because remember, it gives them motivation to engage. So which one of them is it more likely to do?
Hold on. Yeah, it's C. Students are more likely to engage. Because how do I move this? This is
Here, I'm gonna try to move it for you.
yeah, I think is it C?
Yes, that's what I would say, that they would be
Okay.
more likely to engage. But let me clear this for you.
With a text if it matches their personal interests.
Yeah, they're going to engage meaningfully, you know, which means that they will also connect to it personally, maybe, you know, that might also happen. But the best answer, the value is that they're going to engage with it in a meaningful way in our classroom. Like that means that they'll engage with the, you know, the questions that are asked about it and all sorts of other things.
Okay.
So that's what I would say.
Yeah, I had a lot of trouble with that one. Okay, students are more likely to engage meaningfully with a text that matches their personal interest. Okay. Do I click next?
Mhm.
Okay. Derek phonics. Okay. Why did I get this one wrong? Adult. What is an adult bubble in a document?
Transcription support, such as having an adult bubble in an answer document, would most likely benefit a student with which of the following disabilities? Adult bubble, transcription support, learning written expression, I would say. Because it's transcribing, transcription. So I would say it was written as specific learning disability in written expression. Let me see. Yeah, I would say so. Yeah, an adult bubble. So this student can't write things in D, specific learning disability, SLD, in written expression. So they're writing and transcribing. Transcription support means you need someone to bubble in your answer document. So
Okay.
who would need that? And it would be someone with D, that problem writing things or answering things.
So an adult bubble is the written expression.
Yeah,
So
the adult bubble it's just like if you had an adult bubble your answer document for you at the test. Yeah.
Is this like a co-teacher?
Right.
Okay. Okay, so then it's D. which is a SLD and written expression.
Right.
Okay. That's what I didn't know what adult bubble is, and
Mm-hmm.
I put that one. Okay. Large print. Okay. Here we go.
Okay. Let me see.
Middle school students.
I get my. Okay, so you have Miss Carter, Mr. Carter, special education teacher, middle school students, receives a request from sixth grade science teacher to help evaluate. He needs help with assessment, evaluating data for the new student whose primary home language is Spanish. Okay, so primary home language. Upon reviewing the student's data, Mr. Carter finds that the student performs well on lab assignments and other hands-on tasks with visual elements, but that she struggles with tasks involving grade level. So we have struggles with task grade level academic vocabulary. So that's CALPS. Cognitive academic specific vocabulary. So which of the following would be the most logical next step for Mr. Carter to take? So the next step, what's the most logical next step? We have a student, she's a sixth grader, does great on assignments, but just has struggles with tasks that involve grade level academic vocabulary, and the primary home language is Spanish. So what should Mr. Carter do next?
Well, I had put refer the science teacher to the campus to contact for ESL support, but wrong. So now I'm looking at B and D. Polish for individual instruction strategies for decoding and using new vocabulary. And then provide the science teacher with some options for including visual aids when check back to see. Would it be B?
Well, no. The thing is that she's not part of the special education program, and so I would provide the teacher with some options to help her increase her academic vocabulary knowledge. There's nothing to indicate that she is, with special ed.
Oh, I didn't say C.
No, not at all.
Oh,
I'm just saying, there's nothing to indicate for us. And we wouldn't just say go to ESL because we don't know that that's the case either. But everybody should know particular things that you can do, like for instance, pre-teaching. Xander, can you please get the waters from the back of the car? I need the mineral ones. Providing direct instruction for any new content specific vocabulary. So if I'm a science teacher and we're going to be talking about metamorphosis, I need to go through and decode all those main pieces of language that I know my students don't currently have. So I would give a mini instruction on vocabulary that we're going to be using so they have a handle on it during the class lesson. So pre-teaching the academic vocabulary, utilizing multiple means of introducing that vocabulary to them, whether it be visuals, connecting to their prior knowledge, visuals whenever possible, examples, connections to the real world. So giving the science teacher just like specific examples of how to support that student would be probably best practice. That's what I would say. And like check back. And then I'll check back. If that doesn't work, then maybe there is something there and I need to like get together with somebody or somebody else. But I would say, and you see how it says some options for including visual aids. You have to and must always include visual aids when you are introducing new vocabulary. You know, a lot of our students, and especially sixth graders, they're just beginning at that time to really get a handle on thinking things abstractly. So up until that point, they've been very concrete learners. I need to see things hands-on. I need to touch this. I need to watch the plant grow, you know, in order to understand the different processes of it. And so we need to give them examples for them to see and hear and talk about and connect to whenever possible. So I say this is the best answer because several reasons. The other ones I think are just not the right answer. And this one gives the science teacher an opportunity to continue to support her, including visual aids, which is best practice for everyone, whether you're EL, whether you're special ed, whether you're just a general, you know, native English speaker in the classroom, in order, you know, to check for understanding with vocabulary. And so I would do this. I would check on the student later, give him that bit of information, that token of kernel of knowledge, and then check back later.
So visual aids for everyone.
When you're doing direct instruction of, when you're doing direct instruction of a vocabulary, I would do like, say, this is my screen, and I would have the word in the middle, and then the definition would be here. There'd be like pictures or even a video, like link here, some synonyms over here, other things, anything that I could connect to that would really get the kids to understand, like, what does this work? Like if I have to show you a video to see what like, erratic looks like, you know, and show you like a car that's driving erratically on the road. Okay, well, what is this car doing? What's like driving crazy and it's going this way and that way, and then it went this way. Yes, that's what erratic is. We don't know what comes this way or that way. And so getting them to make connections visually is really, really important, not just for English language learners. It literally, science says, is research-based, best practice for teaching vocabulary is to use visuals always and every time.
Okay.
And sometimes for your students, and this is especially true for our EL students and also our special ed students, it's really important that you go the extra step after you having known your students. So you have a group of students, some of them might be EL and sped ed. They're English learners and special ed students. So the classroom teacher might have defined 5 words for the reading, but you know that your student is going to have a little bit more difficulty with a couple more words that are in there, just based on your knowledge of the student. It is your job, it is all our jobs to go that extra mile to create, and that's differentiating of learning for our students. The teacher should already be doing it. They should have already, general ed teachers should have already identified those words as being difficult for that. But if they don't, it's certainly your job to say, okay, they could benefit for a bit more instruction on vocabulary to help with comprehension of the text, right? So I remember one time I was teaching my students, and it was at Liberty Middle School, and in the text, I think it talked about, what was the word? The word was ruckus, and it wasn't defined in our text, so I did not direct instruct it. And all of my little Las Milpas kids at Liberty Middle School, hands were up in the air like, Miss, what's a ruckus? We're like, oh, right. Okay. I should have known that they didn't know what a ruckus was. So I should have already done that. And they should have been like, oh, yeah, we got this. Had I done a better job, although that was my first year teaching ever, it's our job to know our students so that the text makers don't know our kids, they don't know, however well-intentioned their vocabulary selection is, they don't know the needs of our kids. So it's really our job to sort of supplement and make sure that we are strengthening their, highlighting their strengths and supplementing and supporting their weaknesses and getting them stronger. So I would say D is the correct answer.
Yeah. Thank you for that.
Yes, ma'am. And we're gonna have to end for today because I'm so sorry. It's just I have my two daughters here today because they're sick, and I have another session, but I want to get them lunch before.
That's fine.
And then we can
pain
make another. So we went from
we started at 11.
okay, when would you like to have
Whenever,
another session?
whenever. It doesn't matter. I'm free all week.
Let me just check my schedule really quickly. My schedule is always kind of crazy because I also travel to do the in-class supervision. So this week I'm at home, which means I am, I'm doing all online sessions this week, and next week I'm in like traveling all over Texas and going inside the campuses and actually being with the teachers. So sometimes people call and make appointments with me, but they do it while I'm on the road, and I'm like, oh yes, of course, blah blah blah. And it happened to me yesterday, and I felt so bad. I need to be better about this, but I don't have a secretary, in my defense. But I had two people booked at the same time, so that wasn't good.
No, anything that
we could do 11 we can do 11 tomorrow if you'd like.
Yeah, that's fine. We're the 27th tomorrow.
Yes, ma'am.
At 11. So it's just a payment. How do you want me to pay you? Through what?
Do you have Zelle? Do you have access? Like most bank things have like Zelle, and then you just use a phone number.
Do you have, okay, I think I have Zelle. I usually use PayPal to send.
Oh no, I don't have PayPal.
Oh, you don't have PayPal? Okay, I'll try. Let me try and use Zelle. Hold on.
Yeah, Zelle's the best way because it is actually protected by FDIC. It's protected by the banking resources. So you can't ever, ever, ever get scammed from Zelle.
Okay, and I just put your phone number?
Yeah, you just put my phone number and it'll go straight through.
How much was this session?
You can pay half right now, and then the other half after we're done with your 5 hours.
Okay, so what do we say? It was 150.
Yeah, it's 150 now, and then 150 on the last day. Yeah.
So when do you think our last day would be?
Well,
because my exam is on the 3rd, and I don't want it too close to there because.
Well, we can also do Friday at 11. I mean, or Thursday at 11. Oh no, not Friday. We could do Thursday at 11.
Thursday at 11. Is there anything that you want me to do, like to prepare?
Yes, I'll let you know on what I'd like for you to look at inside of the documents. Yeah, and we'll just do it 11 to 1. Is that right? We'll do an hour and a half today, an hour and a half tomorrow, and then we'll do 2 hours on Thursday.
Yeah.
Well, we'll play it by ear. We might do 2 hours tomorrow.
Okay, yeah. I'm trying to sign into Zelle, so, or make an account so I could send you the
Okay,
money.
what bank do you use? Usually your bank hasn't as access to it.
Lone Star, but they are a
Okay.
pain. They really are a pain.
Okay, so I'm gonna just say really quickly, thank you very much for attending the session. Please like and subscribe if this was helpful.
Yeah,